So far, we've taken this information, right? And we've loaded it inside of a Python program. And we even made it look a little bit nicer. So if I launch the terminal and run the program, so cd desktop, Python 3, about Python, is that what I called it? Yeah. So it looks nice, fairly decent. We can give it an option, right? So like, about Python, we've got some information here. And then it ends the program, right? So we've got some issues. So one, there's not that much information. What if the user wanted more information? Would there be a way to give the user more information? And sure, we could do that. We could create another like sub-table of contents, sub-contents or something, and have them put another number in there, and then it could give them more information, like more specifics, because that's not that much information. Like this little like encyclopedic bit here that seems very basic and not very in-depth, they might want more than that. They might already know that, but maybe they don't want all that information yet. So how could you kind of do that? So you could create additional conditionals, right, where they can input some information and get some more information, right? But the other issue too is, what if we want to go back to the main contents and we want to like learn about the creator of Python? Well, then do we put another conditional in here, and then if they say they want to go back, we add all of this content back into that, and so it's having to like duplicate that code, and that doesn't make much sense. So the issue right now is we're either creating a very convoluted tree of conditionals where it's going from one to the next and back and forth, kind of like, or is there a better way? So like, to illustrate this, let's open Photoshop and let's just do a new file. So that'll work. We'll bring this over so it's a little bit easier to see. So right now, if we talk about the program flow, make this easier to see. Let's give that a hard edge. There we go. Let's make that smaller. So we've got like the window size prompt, right, where you first open it, it asks you to make sure that your window size fits the minimum for the ASCII art to display nicely. And then we've got the title, which includes contents, right? And then they've got the 4 choices, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And this could be 4 choices, this could be 5 choices, this could be 20 choices, doesn't matter. And so about Python, or about Guido, or about whatever the other choices were, strings or variables. So strings or variables, right? Now as soon as they choose one, it spits out text, and then it just ends. On all of these, it just ends, and you have to relaunch the application if you want it to do something, right? And that's silly, because what if we want to go back? We shouldn't have to relaunch it each time. Instead, they should have a choice. They should be able to, well, first off, maybe they should be able to get more information. So maybe each one of these should have like some sub options, right? You know, what do you want to know about the author? What do you want to know about strings? What do you want to know about variables? So you should have some sub options. But one of those options should also be to go back to the contents. And even in these, if you choose one of these, you should have the option to either learn about more, or the option to go back to about Python in general, or the option to go back to your table of contents. And I drew that arrow in the wrong direction. There we go. There, right? And that should be your options for all of these. But how do you do that? So instead of actually looping back up to the top, instead it gives you the option to just have a 4th option, right? Which then just is the contents again, and just has all of that code copied and pasted again. But that's an issue for a couple reasons. One, if you make any changes to this, you're going to have to remember to go back and copy and paste those changes into these, right? Which is lame. Not only that, but you're replicating all that code. You're adding all this extra content that you don't need to add in there again because you already have it. So it's silly to add in all those extra lines of code. And granted, our application right now is very small and wouldn't take long to transfer, very small file size. But what if this was a big application? So that could cause lots of issues. So instead of like replicating code, duplicating code, and having this really sloppy thing in there, what we should do instead is we need to learn how to use functions. Oh, so close. Not enough steps back. Alright, we'll just erase that. So instead what this should be is, let's go back to here, we should have some functions in our program, because our program is going to need to do those things over and over again. Just like you need to know how to write your name over and over again, or you need to know how to write the letter A or B or tie your shoes or whatever, there are things that it needs to know how to do. So we probably don't need the window size prompt again and again, because they do it at the start, they're not going to mess with it. We probably don't need the title. We probably don't need to repeat the title again, because once they open the application, why would you show them the title screen again? But we might need the contents again. So we probably need some functions. And the ones that I would say, we probably need a function for contents. And I would say we need a function for each one of these. Instead of replicating the code and doing some weird going back to contents again, which would be silly, it should just tell it to go back and run that contents function, which would essentially be just going back up here instead of trying to replicate all of that again down here, because that would be crazy, right? So how do we do that? So that's what we're going to talk about. How do we program in a function? So in the next video, we'll do a very basic function, and then once we have that down, we'll then use that same idea and make our program better by implementing functions into it.